Many Christians think they're prepared for what's about to happen, but few know that Jesus showed me 5 exact places where no one should be when the Great Tribulation begins. And those who know these places and avoid them will be saved. My name is Margaret Collins, and for 37 years, I have served the Lord in the small Christian community of Yorkshire, hidden among the peaceful hills of northern England. I thought I knew his voice. I thought I understood his will. I believed I was already walking in the light of his truth. But on October 25th, 2025, everything changed. My heart stopped. I lost my breath, and in a single instant, I found myself beyond the veil of life. There, in a light that no human words can describe, Jesus came to me. He looked at me with burning mercy, but also with a seriousness that pierced my soul. He said that time had run out, that the world is about to enter the days that the prophets once feared. Then he showed me 5 places on earth that will soon become deadly traps, places of deception and destruction, where even the faithful will fall if they don't listen in time. He told me to return, to speak, to warn everyone, because those who know and choose will be protected when the judgments come. I returned to life 3 days ago, and since then I have found no peace until I began to tell what I saw. If you stay with me until the end, you'll know if you're truly safe, or if, without realizing it, you're in one of the 5 places that Jesus showed me. October 25th began like any other day in our small Yorkshire community. The church bell rang at 4:30 in the morning, and the corridor filled with the faithful, the gentle rustling of Bible pages, and the silent steps of brothers and sisters making their way to the chapel. Our mornings always began this way, in silence, suspended between night and light. We knelt in prayer, and when dawn bloomed beyond the windows, our voices rose together in a single breath. After breakfast came simplicity, warm bread, the aroma of tea, the touch of hands passing cups across the small wooden table. There was a sacred order in everything, a peace that seemed eternal. None of us could have imagined that this day would not be like the others. After breakfast, the elders asked me to go into town to fetch some medicines for the elderly members of the congregation. It was a simple task, one I had done many times before. I got into the car, silently praying the rosary as the narrow Yorkshire Hills Road wound between the green fields. Then, in an instant, everything changed. A curve, a metallic roar, a flash of fear. A lorry had lost its brakes. There was no time to think, no time to pray. I remember only the light surrounding me, the sound of the world collapsing, and then silence. The impact was devastating and instantaneous. I felt the crushing force of metal against metal. I heard the terrible sound of glass shattering and steel twisting. And then I experienced the deepest sensation of my life. In that instant, I felt my soul separate from my physical body like a butterfly emerging from its cocoon. There was no pain, no fear, only an overwhelming sensation of liberation and freedom as I rose above the wreckage that had once housed my earthly form. I looked down and saw my shattered body trapped in what remained of the car, with blood pooling around my head, my eyes wrapped in what seemed to be a peaceful sleep, but I was very much alive, more alive than I had ever been in my 72 years of earthly existence. My spirit was vibrant, full, and filled with an energy that made my physical body seem like a heavy coat I had finally been allowed to remove. Suddenly, I found myself surrounded by a light so bright and pure that it made the sun seem like a dim candle. This light was not harsh or blinding, but rather warm and welcoming, filling every part of my being with indescribable love and peace. Within this splendor, a figure began to approach me, and my spirit immediately recognized who it was. Jesus Christ himself walked towards me, and though he appeared to be about 30 years old, his presence carried the weight of eternity. His eyes contained a deep compassion that I never imagined possible, and when he looked at me, I felt completely understood, completely accepted, and completely loved despite every flaw and weakness of my earthly life. "Margaret," he said, and his voice was like music and thunder combined, gentle yet carrying absolute authority. "Margaret, I have called you back home for a brief period, for there are things my people need to know before the Great Tribulation begins. The warnings I am about to give are not symbolic or metaphorical. They are specific instructions that will make the difference between life and death for countless souls." As he spoke these words, the space around us began to change and transform. We were no longer in that brilliant realm of light, but standing on what appeared to be a high mountain overlooking all the earth. From this vantage point, I could see continents and nations stretching below like a living map, and Jesus began to show me visions of what was coming in the very near future. The first vision struck me like lightning. I saw armies gathering in a region I immediately recognized as the Middle East, surrounding the city of Jerusalem like vultures circling their prey. The vision filled me with dread because I could feel the spiritual darkness emanating from these forces. A darkness so dense that it seemed to swallow light itself. "Watch carefully, Margaret," Jesus said, his voice heavy with sorrow. "See where my people must not be when the final hour is coming. The first place of death is Judea and all the lands around Jerusalem. When you see the abomination of desolation standing in the holy place, those in Judea must flee to the mountains immediately. Don't go back for your belongings. Don't hesitate even for a moment, because the destruction that follows will be swift and merciless." I watched in horror as the vision unfolded before me. I saw an immense figure of evil enter the rebuilt temple in Jerusalem and declare himself God, demanding worship from all who witnessed his blasphemous act. The moment this abomination was revealed, earthquakes began to shake the entire region with unprecedented violence. Buildings that had stood for centuries crumbled like sandcastles, and the ground itself opened up to swallow entire neighborhoods. But the earthquakes were only the beginning. Fire began to fall from the sky like a rain of burning hail, consuming everything it touched. The armies surrounding Jerusalem turned their weapons not only against the city, but against all the villages and towns throughout Judea. I saw believers who had waited too long to flee, those who hesitated to abandon their homes and belongings, trapped in the chaos with no escape. Even in this vision of judgment, I witnessed God's mercy. I saw groups of the faithful who heeded the warning, who had fled to remote mountain caves, to wilderness areas, the moment the abomination was revealed. In these hidden places, I watched angels providing supernatural protection and provision, just as God had fed the Israelites with manna in the desert centuries ago. This is why the warning is very specific, Jesus explained, as the vision continued. Judea will become the epicenter of my final judgment on the earth. The spiritual forces of darkness will concentrate their power there, and no human force will be able to resist what is about to happen. Only those who fully trust in my provision and flee when I command will survive what is about to happen. The second vision was even more shocking than the first. The scene changed to show me major cities around the world, enormous urban centers teeming with millions of people going about their daily lives, completely oblivious to what was approaching. I recognized London, Manchester, New York, Tokyo, Dubai, and countless other metropolitan areas that represented the pinnacle of human achievement and wealth. "See how they trust in their systems," Jesus said, pointing to the intense activity below. "They have built towers that touch the sky and created networks that span the globe. But they have forgotten that all their strength is like grass that withers in a single day." The second place of death is any major city that has become like Babylon, trusting in wealth and human wisdom instead of God. As he spoke these words, I witnessed something that challenged everything I thought I understood about the stability of modern civilization. Within seconds, I watched cyber attacks paralyze the electronic systems these cities depended upon for their very survival. Power grids failed simultaneously across multiple continents, plunging billions of people into chaos and darkness. But the technological collapse was only the first wave of destruction. Financial markets that had taken decades to build evaporated in minutes. Digital currencies lost all value, and banking systems collapsed irreparably. Supply chains that delivered food, medicine, and fuel to urban populations collapsed completely, leaving millions of people stranded in concrete jungles with no means to sustain themselves. Cities that seemed so resilient and permanent became death traps within hours. Without electricity, without water systems, without food distribution, and without communication networks, panic spread like wildfire through urban populations. I watched as desperation took hold. People fought over the last remaining supplies whilst emergency services were overwhelmed and governmental authority completely collapsed. "Within 1 hour," Jesus said solemnly, "the wealth of these great cities will be laid waste. Those who trusted in human systems instead of God's provision will find themselves imprisoned in monuments to human pride that have become tombs for the unprepared." Once again, I glimpsed divine mercy even amid judgment. I witnessed believers in these cities who had received supernatural warnings to evacuate before the collapse began. Families who had sold their belongings and moved to rural areas. Individuals who felt the Holy Spirit urging them to relocate despite the apparent security of urban life. These faithful ones heard God's still small voice and escaped the trap before it was sprung. The third vision Jesus showed me was perhaps the most deceptive of all, because it involved a place where many believers would naturally think they would be safe. The scene before me changed, revealing a vast expanse of underground bunkers and fortified shelters scattered across the land, places where the wealthy and powerful had spent billions creating what they believed would be impenetrable refuges against the chaos above. "Behold the pride of man," Jesus said, his voice heavy with deep sadness. "See how they trust in their own strength and wisdom instead of my provision." These underground fortresses will become the third place of death, not because of what happens above ground, but because of what they represent in the human heart. I watched as the vision unfolded, showing me luxurious bunkers equipped with years of food supplies, advanced air filtration systems, and every imaginable comfort. The people inside these shelters congratulated themselves on their foresight and preparation, believing they had outsmarted the coming judgment through their wealth and planning. But what I witnessed next filled me with overwhelming sorrow. These elaborate shelters, built by human hands and sustained by human resources, began to fail in ways their designers had never anticipated. The sophisticated systems that maintained life underground began to malfunction as electromagnetic pulses from cosmic disturbances fried their electronic components. Air supplies became contaminated, food stores spoiled, and the very walls that promised protection became the walls of tombs. But the physical failures were nothing compared to the spiritual darkness that descended upon these places. I saw how isolation and fear began to consume the souls of those trapped inside. Without God's presence, without faith to sustain them, without the ability to trust in divine provision, the people in these bunkers turned on each other with a savagery that shocked me. Deep down, they thought they could save themselves through their own efforts, Jesus explained as I watched the horrific scenes unfold. But salvation never came through human strength or wisdom. It always came through faith and dependence on me. These people prepared their bodies but neglected their souls, and in the end, their souls are all that matters. I witnessed how some of the wealthiest and most influential people on earth, those who seemed so powerful and secure in their earthly lives, were consumed by despair and madness in their underground prisons. They had everything they thought they needed to survive except the one thing that truly mattered, a relationship with their Creator. The fourth vision brought me to a place that made my spirit recoil in horror. Jesus showed me immense distribution centers being set up in cities around the world, places where thousands of people queued to receive what was being called a revolutionary new identification system. The technology was presented as the solution to all of humanity's problems: instant access to healthcare, seamless financial transactions, and complete security against crime and terrorism. "This is the fourth place of death, Margaret," Jesus said, his voice carrying a weight that made my soul tremble. "These are the centers where the mark of the beast will be administered. Anyone who enters these places and accepts what is offered there will lose their eternal soul, and there will be no possibility of redemption." The vision showed me how the system would be implemented gradually, first as a convenience, then as a necessity, and finally as a requirement for survival. I saw families torn apart as some members chose to accept the mark whilst others refused it. I witnessed believers who had served God faithfully for decades suddenly compromising their faith when confronted with the inability to buy food for their children or access medical care for their loved ones. The pressure to conform was unparalleled. The world had never seen anything like it. Those who refused to accept the mark would be excluded from all commercial activity, unable to work, shop, or even receive basic services. They became outcasts in their own societies, hunted and persecuted for their refusal to bow to the bestial system that had taken control of human civilization. But what broke my heart most was seeing how the mark itself fundamentally changed people. The moment someone received it, something died in their spirit. The connection between their soul and God was permanently severed, leaving them physically alive but spiritually dead. They could still perform the rituals of religious activity, but the light of divine life had been extinguished within them forever. Even in this darkest vision, I saw God's mercy shining. Small groups of believers who had refused the mark were being supernaturally sustained in wilderness areas, in remote locations. Angels provided food and protection, just as they had done for Elijah by the brook Cherith. These faithful remnants shone with a spiritual light that made them appear as stars in the overwhelming darkness that had settled over the earth.
The fifth and final vision Jesus showed me was the most comprehensive and terrifying of all. The scene expanded to reveal entire regions of Earth that had become uninhabitable due to the convergence of natural disasters, wars, and supernatural judgments. Vast areas of what were once fertile lands were now lifeless deserts where nothing could survive. "See the coastal regions where millions chose to live," Jesus said, pointing to areas on every continent. When the great earthquake happens and the islands flee, when the mountains are moved from their places and the seas roar beyond their boundaries, these will become the fifth place of death. Those who remain near the coast when the final tremors begin will be swept away by waters that will rise higher than the tallest buildings. I watched, stunned and terrified, as gigantic tsunamis, unleashed by earthquakes of unprecedented magnitude, struck coastal cities around the world. Waves hundreds of meters high advanced tens of kilometers inland, engulfing everything in their path. The destruction was so complete that entire metropolitan areas simply disappeared beneath the churning waters, leaving no trace that millions had once lived and worked there. The vision showed me how these coastal disasters were connected to deeper spiritual realities. The areas that were most completely destroyed were those where humanity's rebellion against God had reached its peak. Cities that celebrated sin, that had persecuted believers, that had proclaimed their independence from divine authority, were completely annihilated by the very elements God had created. But again, divine mercy was evident even in judgment. I saw believers in coastal areas who received supernatural warnings to move inland, families who felt an inexplicable desire to change residence, despite their deep roots in coastal communities. These obedient souls had listened to the still, small voice of the Holy Spirit and escaped destruction by following God's guidance instead of their own understanding. At the end of these 5 visions, Jesus turned to me with eyes that contained both infinite love and urgent concern. "Margaret," he said, "you must return now and warn my people. Time is shorter than anyone imagines, and the events you have witnessed will begin to unfold within months, not years. Those who heed these warnings and trust in my provision instead of their own strength will be protected. But those who ignore them or delay their response will find themselves trapped in places of death when the final hour comes." The love in his voice was overwhelming, but so was the urgency. I understood that this message was not conveyed to create fear, but rather to offer hope and a way of escape for those who hear and obey. God's judgments are always mixed with mercy for those who seek him with sincere hearts. I felt myself beginning to be drawn back to my earthly body, but Jesus had one last message for me to convey. "Tell them that I am their only refuge," he said. "Tell them that no earthly shelter, no human system, no preparation will save them unless I am their foundation. Tell them to flee to me whilst there is still time, because I am coming soon, and when I come, it will be too late for those who have not made their peace with me." But before I returned to my broken body, he showed me one last vision that would forever change how I understood the urgency of these warnings. I found myself in what appeared to be a great assembly, a hall filled with millions of souls, and I realized I was witnessing the judgment seat of Christ, where every believer will give an account of their life. What I saw there shattered my heart into 1,000 pieces. I watched as countless Christians who lived comfortable lives, who attended church regularly, and considered themselves faithful, presented themselves before Jesus with empty hands. They had spent their years on earth building kingdoms that would not last, pursuing dreams that would turn to dust, and ignoring the signs of the times that were all around them. I saw pastors who preached prosperity instead of preparation, who had told their congregations that Christians would be raptured before any trouble arose, left speechless as they realized how many souls were lost because of false comfort. I witnessed families who mocked those who warned about the tribulation, who called prepared believers extremists and fanatics, weeping as they understood how their pride had led them to destruction. But most painful of all was seeing parents before the throne, holding their children's hands, tears streaming down their faces as they understood that their failure to take God's warnings seriously had cost their little ones everything. These people were not evil, nor deliberately rebellious against God. They simply were not prepared, caught off guard by events they had been repeatedly warned about, but chose to ignore. The brilliant light began to fade around me, and I felt the familiar weight of physical existence returning, but the visions remained crystal clear in my memory, preserved by divine power to be shared with a world that desperately needed to hear what heaven was declaring about the days to come. Brothers and sisters, I have shared with you everything Jesus revealed to me in those sacred moments between death and life. These 5 places of death are not distant prophecies or symbolic warnings. They are immediate realities that will unfold in the coming months, and every soul who hears these words must make a choice that will determine their eternal destiny. The message is clear and urgent. Flee from Judea when the abomination appears in the holy place. Flee from major cities before they become modern Babylons, collapsing in a single hour. Do not trust in underground bunkers built by human hands when only God's provision in the wilderness can sustain you. Refuse the mark of the beast, no matter what it costs you in this passing world. Move away from coastal regions before the great tremors and floods sweep everything away. But remember this above all. These warnings are not just about physical locations. They concern the condition of your heart. Will you trust in human systems or God's provision? Will you choose temporary comfort or eternal life? Will you heed human wisdom or divine instruction? The choice is before you at this very moment. Jesus is calling you out of every system that exalts itself above him. He is preparing places of supernatural refuge for those who will trust him completely. The time of preparation is ending, and the hour of testing approaches rapidly. Do not delay. Do not rationalize. Do not presume there will be another opportunity to respond. Your eternal soul is at stake, and heaven awaits your decision. From the bottom of our hearts, we thank you for staying with us until the end of this message. If you're still here, it's because the Spirit has awakened something within you, and that means this moment was made for you. We invite you now to take a simple action that can have an impact beyond this screen. Write in the comments where you're watching from so we can intercede for your nation in prayer. If you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe and click the notification bell so you don't miss any messages and revelations that the Lord places on our hearts each day. And above all, share this video with at least 3 people you care about: a friend, a loved one, a brother or sister in faith. Because a small act of faith can awaken a soul, can illuminate the darkness, awaken repentance, and bring someone back into the arms of God. May he go before you, guide your truth, and keep his love steadfast. Here are some more videos you need to watch next. I'll see you there.